All right, today we're diving into a really profound text called the Key of Unification. Think of it as a map for a journey that takes us from chaos and feeling pulled apart through these moments of total collapse and finally toward a much deeper sense of connection. It's an amazing way to understand our own lives, so let's get started.
Right out of the gate, the text hits us with this powerful idea. Any real, deep, transformative journey, it doesn't start when things are all neat and tidy. No. It begins right in the middle of the mess, when we feel fragmented and pulled in a million directions. It just completely flips the script on what a beginning is supposed to look like.
So, this brings us to the very first stage of this journey. What the text calls divergence. This whole phase is about learning to navigate that initial, and let's be honest, often overwhelming chaos of choice. I mean, think about it. When have you ever started something really important with a perfect step-by-step guide? It just doesn't happen. The text argues that life really begins right here, in this messy, confusing intersection of competing paths. And it frames this divergence not as some problem you have to solve, but as the fertile ground where self-discovery actually gets to happen.
You see, the text defines these divergent paths in a really unique way. It's not about the stress of finding the one correct road. Forget that. Instead, the real challenge is to listen to your own voice in all that noise and decide who you actually want to be. So the first step, according to this philosophy, isn't finding certainty. It's learning how to embrace and maybe even dance with the uncertainty.
To make this a bit more practical, the text offers this beautiful metaphor called mapping the self. The idea is simple. Just reflect on your life's biggest transformations. Career changes, new relationships, those moments of crisis, and start to see them as waypoints on your own unique map. And here's the kicker, the real insight. You're not just a passive traveler on some pre-made road. You are also the one drawing the map as you go. You're the cartographer.
This leads us right into the next phase, and honestly, it's often the hardest one, but it's also the most transformative. It's called collapse and bloom, a stage where we literally find growth in what feels like our own ruins.
So the text poses this really radical question. We are so conditioned to fear collapse, right? To see it as a total failure. But this philosophy just challenges that head-on. It asks, what if the moments where everything seems to be falling apart aren't a wrong turn? What if they are the path?
And this little comparison just lays out the dynamic perfectly. On one side, you've got the old self, all the familiar roles, the identity you've known for so long. And on the other, you have the bloom, the new potential that can only emerge after those old structures have crumbled away. The collapse isn't just an accident, it's framed as a necessary death that comes right before a genuine rebirth.
I mean, this short, powerful quote says it all, doesn't it? The point of breakdown, that moment of ruin, it's not a dead end. It's the very entrance to something new. It's the opening to a more authentic way of being.
The text even calls this a sacred act of unmaking. It's like a conscious falling apart. Think of a career you had to leave, or a belief system that just didn't fit anymore, or a relationship that ended. As painful as those moments are, they create an empty space. And it's in that space that your true self finally has room to breathe and to emerge.
So, after navigating all that divergence and surviving the collapse, the journey finally moves toward a kind of resolution. This is the stage of weaving unity, where we start to discover all the threads that connect everything together.
The first path to this unity is called the mirror of the other. The idea here is that every single person we meet is a kind of reflection. They mirror back our own strengths, our hidden weaknesses, and maybe most importantly, our shared humanity. And when you start to see the world that way, the separation we feel between me and you just starts to dissolve.
And this spills to an even bigger, more universal idea, the thread of the one. This is the invisible fabric that's said to connect everything. Every thought, every action, it all sends ripples through this huge interconnected web. We're not just isolated actors, we are essential parts of a single cosmic tapestry.
And what's so important to get here is that this isn't about achieving some enlightened state by leaving the world behind. Not at all. True unity is found right here, in the messiness of our lives, by simply learning to recognize these deep connections in our daily interactions and in the world all around us.
Okay, so this brings us to the final big concept from the text, the spiral path. It's this beautiful idea that this journey of transformation isn't a straight line with a neat beginning and an end. It's a spiral.
This quote just captures the whole thing perfectly.
We often find ourselves revisiting the same themes in our lives, right? The same challenges, the same lessons, but we never, ever come back to them as the same person. Each time we circle back around, we do it with a deeper understanding, with a whole new perspective.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. This entire journey isn't about reaching some final perfect state of unity and then you're done. The whole point is the process, the eternal unfolding, the constant becoming. Unity isn't a prize you win. It's a state of being you learn to practice, moment by moment.
So as we close this out, the text leaves us with this one last powerful metaphor. If we are all both the thread and the weaver, all connected to this grand tapestry of existence, then every action, every thought, it's another stitch in the pattern. And that turns this whole philosophy into a very personal, very immediate question. What pattern are you weaving with your life, right now, today?